going on, guys? TVM here. Welcome to the first official video on this channel. We've done previous videos reviewing movies and stuff, which we still will do. I'm going to take the time to do a lot on this channel, but what we're going to do today is talk to you about building a PC. Now, I'm not going to be just flashing through it all. You know, if you've come here looking for a cheap build, you're going to find one, but I'm going to be talking in layman's terms for an awful lot of you guys who don't know how to build PCs. If you come here as an expert, you're in the wrong place. You're not going to enjoy this video, or you might want to pick apart what I'm saying. I'm not an expert myself, but I know how to build PCs, and I know what component goes with what. I've done my research, and we're going to be going through every component right now. So if you want to know how to build a PC, this isn't really going to be the video for you. I'm actually going to link two videos down below on how to build a PC. They're very, very detailed, they're very, very long, but they are crucial in knowing. Once you've watched them once, you'll need to flick back through them again, but you'll have the base general idea on what you need to do. It's not difficult to build a PC. A lot of people will look at that and think, oh, I can't build one myself, I'll mess it up. Honestly, it's very, very difficult to get it wrong, is basically what I'm trying to say. Everything goes in its specific place. You can't put things in the wrong place, and it will generally work. I built my PC, my first PC, with a tutorial video in front of me, and it worked very, very simply, and it was done within a couple of hours, and it worked for a year and a half, and then I just upgraded it, and ever since then I've been building my own PCs. I would never go out and buy a pre-built PC because you pay £70 to £100 extra in labor. You don't want to be doing that. You want to build it yourself. Plus you can use the parts you want to use. So firstly then, motherboard we're going to be talking. I'm going to read this because the name is just ridiculous and I'm going to cock it up. It's a Gigabyte GA-F2A 58M-HD2. And it's an FM2 plus socket, which basically, when you look at the sockets, you want to be looking at the processor as well. You need to basically match up the socket on the motherboard to the socket on the processor. We'll talk about that again in a second when I get to the processor. Now, the motherboard is the thing that talks to everything, okay? So when I first started building PCs, I was looking at the motherboard and I was thinking, I don't care about that. I care about the processor and the graphics card and maybe the RAM, and that's all I care about. The rest of it I'll just buy or whatever and I'll just chuck it in. You don't want to be doing that. You want to treat each and individual PC part well, not individually, but as important as the next one. You know what I mean? So when you look at the motherboard, you need to be looking at spending a fair bit to get a decent one. Now, this is a cheap build, so this motherboard is only 30 quid. So it's not the best motherboard in the world, but it'll do the job for the components that we're going to be putting into it. Now, looking at the processor, I'm quite new to this myself. This is actually called an APU, which is basically a CPU. So a CPU is a processor, and a GPU, which is a graphics card, and they are put into one, which makes an APU. Hope that is quite simply straightforward. So it's a processor and a graphics card built into one. So you're not going to be getting amazing performance from this chip, although you will be getting decent performance to be able to power the PC in the first place and obviously play games. Now, I'm assuming you're going to be wanting this system to play games, browse the internet, and possibly do some streaming. You're not going to be running games at max. You're not going to be, outshining every other PC on the market, and you're probably not going to be able to stream in that higher setting due to the fact that the PC is going to be using the graphics from the same chip as it is the processing power. So maybe not the best PC build to be streaming from. YouTube videos are probably going to be fine. Video editing, light video editing is going to be decent. Obviously in the future we'll be doing slightly more expensive builds with dedicated graphics cards to processors, but this one costs £73.49 on eBay. I will round it up to £74. The link to it is down below. It's going to be a 4.1 gigahertz processor, so it's a pretty good, powerful processor from AMD. I mean, I prefer Intel personally, but Intel are a lot more expensive than AMD are, and I don't think there's that much difference. There's a massive debate whether AMD is better than Intel. It's kind of like the console versus PC thing. You know, they both do. Xbox, PlayStation is basically what I'm saying. Yeah, they both do similar things. It's just one's cheaper than the other, and there's a massive fanboy issue going on. But for what it does, very good job. Now we're going to move on to the RAM. Now this is something that you can add 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. The motherboard that we've got has got 4 RAM slots. Now basically RAM is memory. This is how fast your PC is going to process information. Now you don't want to scrimp on this. This is actually, not in my opinion, the most important thing, but the more RAM you have, the better off you are, okay? Now you can spend hundreds and thousands of pounds on RAM. What we're going to be doing here though is allowing you to decide how much RAM you want. So in front of me right now I've got a Crucial which is the name of the brand, 4 gig DDR3, 1600 megahertz, so 1600 megahertz, Ballistix Sport XT. Not that that matters to anybody, that's just the name that they've given it. Now, one 4 gig stick is going to cost you 26 quid on eBay, okay? Now, you can add as many as you want for as many slots as you have on the motherboard, okay? So if you want to get yourself 12 gig of RAM, you buy 4 sticks. If you want 8 gig, you buy 2 sticks. So on and so forth. It's fairly straightforward. You can go out and buy bigger kits, you can buy more expensive RAM. There's not an awful lot of point for this build, so what I'm going to say is go out and buy 2 of these crucial 4 gig sticks, and you'll spend 46 quid and get yourself 8 gig of RAM, and it'll work perfectly. Now the next thing is the hard drive. This is purely down to preference. I've just gone with a 1 terabyte Toshiba internal hard drive. It doesn't matter whatsoever what hard drive you buy, it's just a question of how much space you want. Obviously, solid state hard drives are better than standard mechanical hard drives. The reason I say that is because solid state is getting a lot cheaper now, and it's a lot faster. When I've got a solid state hard drive in my PC right now. It's a 256 gigabyte drive, which is not that big, but then I've got two terabyte hard drives on top of that, and they're hybrid between solid state and standard. Now, solid state is just instant. You push on the PC, and it takes about 3 or 4 seconds. Your PC's on, ready to go. With this, like a mechanical hard drive, for instance, you're going to be waiting a little while for your PC to turn on. It's just like a laptop. Most laptops don't have solid state. You'll be waiting for as long as you are waiting for a laptop to turn on as you will your PC. But if you're not bothered about speed, then this, any hard drive will do. Just a question of how much space you want. This is probably the most complicated part of the PC build, and that is the power supply. A lot of people will again overlook the power supply. It's very difficult to understand what wattage you need when building a PC. I think there's several websites out there. I'm going to try and find one. I think it's like buildmypc.com or something along those lines. I'll put a link down below if I can remember what site I use to do this. You can put every single PC component you are going to add into your PC into it. Click calculate, and exactly how much wattage you'll roughly be using on load, which is at maximum when everything's running at full capacity. That's your wattage you're going to be using. It'll tell you exactly what power supply you need. Now, for this build, you don't need anything massive because you haven't really got anything huge within the case. So we're going to be using a Corsair CX 500 watt power supply. It's an 80 plus bronze rated power supply. It's actually been given really good reviews on eBay, and it costs just under 50 quid, about 48 quid through eBay. It's got 92 reviews, and all of them are 8 plus. So obviously, being out of 10, that is a really, really good return for the money as well. Just a power supply beneath 50 quid is fantastic. If you were going to upgrade any of this PC, for instance, if you're going to add more RAM, or you're going to put a dedicated graphics card in there, you may want to look to upgrade the power supply slightly, but I think you'll be okay. I can't imagine you're going to be using that much wattage for the components that you've put into this build. Now, the case is personal preference. It really doesn't matter what case you use. It's a case of what, it's a case, get it? No, fine. What you like, okay? So I'm just going to go with the CIT or the SIT Venom mesh gaming case. 20 quid, you can beg or borrow a case. You can get them on eBay for about 5 quid. If you live local, you can go pick one up. It really doesn't matter what case you use. Be careful that you don't buy the wrong case. I know it doesn't matter what case you use, be careful you don't buy the wrong case. But you can buy like mini ATX cases. You do not want a mini ATX case for this build in particular, or you might do it, but you need to buy a mini ATX board. Basically, what that is you can buy PCs about that big, okay? There's no scale here. My head, yeah, get it? You can buy a case about that big. They're called Mini ATX. Now, the Mini ATX, you'll need a smaller motherboard to be able to fit into the chassis of the case, so you'll need to be corresponding that. Now, you can do this with this build. You can swap out the motherboard for a Mini ATX version. I've just gone for a mid tower. You can buy a massive tower if you want, so the cooling is a lot better because obviously you're going to be the air is going to be able to flow through it better. But I've gone for a mid tower, 20 quid from SIT or from CIT, and again that is available on eBay. You can go through all their different cases. As long as you buy a mid to a tall tower, you're fine. Already comes with a fan. You won't need much cooling for this. The CPU itself will come with a stock cooler, which is basically just a fan that goes on top of the CPU, and that'll be more than enough for this build. So everything that I've said, depending on which case you want, but if you go with everything that's in the list in the description and you buy it all from eBay, it's going to cost you £269 plus postage and packaging. You can add warranties to whatever you want through eBay. I wouldn't recommend adding a warranty on something like a case. It's just not needed. The RAM should have a warranty through Crucial, and the processor should have a 2-year warranty through AMD as well. So just make sure you keep your receipt once you get the whole thing from eBuyer, and you'll be fine. You can actually go through the manufacturer rather than the website. But if you do want to protect anything like the hard drive, etc., you can add warranties for about 5 to 10 quid through eBuyer themselves. Anyway, that is all from me for today. If you've enjoyed this, please smack that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have done so, and also let me know down below what you thought of the first build that we've done. Obviously, I will be doing actual builds in the future, but for the first few builds, what we're going to be doing is just talking you through it, because obviously a lot of you are going to be new to this. Okay, a lot of you are going to know what you're doing, and I've just spoke for about 10 minutes about something you already knew, but it was your fault for watching it in the first place. Let me know down below as well what your budget is. If you've got a budget and you are looking to build a PC, whether it be for streaming or whether it be for YouTube or even just gaming, let me know down below your budget and what you want it for specifically, and I'll be sure to have a look around and build it and put all the links down in the new video description of the new video that I will do specifically for you. Until the next time, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.